Hello, it's Greg Allison, Green Greg's coming to you on the 25th of January, 22. Time on deck, 2300 hours Central Standard Time. And we're talking tonight about the second 24 hours, the second of 48, what to do if we get an attack by an electromagnetic pulse taking down our grid, anything that takes down our power grid for that fact, or if we get a nuke attack. This is a continuation of a video I did with Stacy Zivicki, and she's our special guest again tonight. Just a couple of days ago, we got a lot of good response to that video, and this is the rest of the story. This is what you need to know when it goes down. And my friends, right now, with everything going on with Russia, with China, Iran, North Korea, holy guac and smoke-a-moly. I ain't never seen anything like this since maybe I was 2 years old. And I wasn't too cognizant of the Cuban Missile Crisis when I was two. My gosh, so many people say, well, maybe this might take us back to the Cold War. Look, I was alive through the whole Cold War. I don't remember anything like this tension during that whole time. Guys, we are in a crux right now, economically. And to top it all off, there's a whole nother threat to our grid because the DHS has just come out and said, oh, we believe that there's a credible threat that right-wing white supremacists are going to take down the power grid. Excuse me? After we've had all these threats from Iran and all these countries to get all this war attention, that's what they're saying? You got to be kidding me. Which tells me that if anything happens, they're going to, and how do they, that nasty terminology, how do they define that? Probably anybody that's a prepper, even if you're black. I don't think it matters. I think they're going after anybody who's independent. I think they're going after anybody who can think for themselves and don't toe the line. Guys, I see this as a challenge, but that may also mean that if Russia and China and all these others don't take it down, what's going to happen, guys? I don't know. I don't want to say anything too much here because there's certain things that are verboten. This is not a free speech platform. Keep that in mind, and keep that in mind when you make your comments. But guys, we are in a pickle, and it's not funny. We are in a real strait. So I'll bring you this video tonight. It's part of the live version of the eyes wide open, head on a swivel video, so you'll know what's coming. And please subscribe to my channel, bang the notification bell, and click off. Also, Stacy Zivicki, she's our special guest. I'll bring her in just a second. She has two channels. She has Sustainable Stewards, which talks about growing food and putting it up, which is something you really need to know how to do. And I cover some of the growing side, not so much the putting it up as she does on my channel. And also, she's got another brand new channel that talks topics like this called Battle Axe. And I'm going to tell you what, I'll have the links in this after we get done tonight. Maybe some of you mods can post some of the links as we go here for Stacy's channel. Everyone, please go in and subscribe to Stacy's channel. She is excellent. She is a very hardworking patriot, and I really admire her to the end of the world because she's got her heart and head in the right place, guys, and she follows the Lord. If you don't believe that, just listen to her. So pay a lot of attention. She's going to tell you things that you need to know to survive, just like our last video. So pay attention to that. And I am going to try to pull up my chat screen on my little laptop here. But guys, here's another thing. Right now, before we get into it, just bear in mind, you're going to really need to prep. You need to prep right now. You need to prep seriously. Our grid has got more threats against it than I've ever seen or heard of in my life. And I'd mentioned the sun's kicking up. So just bear in mind, you better go out and grow your own food. Get your seeds, get them now while you can. Go to my link to True Leaf Market. And right now I got a special. Truly, you go to prepwithgreg.com. We have got a reintroduction of a special there that was really popular. It's $150 off the 3-month supply of this food that lasts 25 years, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You get 2,000 calories a day, unlike the competitors that often only offer a starvation diet of 800. And guys, this will last you. And it'll get you through it. It's lightweight. You can bug out with. You can put it in your storage and your caches. I tell you, hey, do like Stacy shows and her videos about canning jars. But even Stacy will tell you that if you want to bury it in the ground, you want to cache, this is the way to go. So check it out, prepwithgreg.com. Oh yeah, the $50 off now. They got a $50 special for a 4-week supply. So you get 2 different specials now, which makes it all the sweeter. So check it out while you can. That's going to be a limited time special. Right now, with everything going down, you got to check it out. So I'm going to lead out with one other thing. I talked about nuclear. Now, that was what I mostly talked about. Stacy talked about a lot of other stuff, and we will go back and forth. But nuclear has been a little bit more my area. You know, I was the distinguished undergraduate of the NBC nuclear biological school I took in the military. So I know just a little bit about it. And I did a whole video. You got to watch the video I did on nuclear bug out zones, nuclear bug out, how to bug out. And it goes deeply into the different forms of radiation, how to protect yourself from these radiations and all that stuff. You really, really, really need to watch my nuclear bug out video. And I put two hands up, so that's a signal for me to put a link up here when I do this signal later. When I do this video later, when I make the mods to it. I guess I won't be doing it because I didn't hit the record button. Never mind. There won't be links like that. So, my friends, do check out that nuclear bug. I will put the links below in the show notes. And it's in my last video, the one that Stacy and I did together the first 24 hours. Now, I'm just going to continue a little bit more before I bring Stacy in. The first 24 hours is the main period for the nuclear, because you got to get yourself out of the radiation. You got to get yourself safe, and you got a very limited time to do it. So that's the video you really need to watch for that part. We'll watch the bug out video, then watch my first 24-hour video with Stacy. Watch the nuclear bug out video. I got two bug out videos. That's more than two, but I got a general bug out video. I got the nuclear bug out video. And then this, I got a nuclear winter bug out video, but I got this video with Stacy talking about what to do in the first 24 hours. Cover stuff I didn't cover in those videos, some new material. Now, the second 24 hours from the nuclear standpoint, it's you duck, you stay low, you stay out of the radiation, either get away from it or you got to hunker in somewhere like a bunker. And sometimes you got to make your own bunker. Sometimes a makeshift bunker works. And I've talked about that in those other videos. I've talked about how to make makeshift bunkers to protect your animals in your barns and stuff like that. And you really need to do that, guys. You got to take care of your livestock. But you really don't want to go out, especially for the first 24 hours, but preferably for the first 2 weeks. Now, if you absolutely have to go out, if you absolutely have to cross one of those irradiated areas where the fallout fell from the nuclear device, should such a thing happen, should there be such an event, then when I was in the military, they taught us to operate in those areas. They said, hey, well, you put sandbags on the floor of your Jeep and just go right across it. Yeah, well, you're going to get irradiated if you do it. You might survive. You know, you got a little better chance if you put the sandbags in. That's not an ideal. The ideal solution is to stay out of it, but they wanted us to fight. They wanted us out there in it. So that's what they told us to do, just to give us enough confidence so we'd be full enough to drive around in that stuff. If you absolutely had to, if your life or the life of your loved ones depend on it, and for some reason you can't go around that big fallout area, then yeah, put sandbags on the floor of your vehicle and under your seat, and keep the windows up. Do not turn on the fan. Research might work, but I don't think so. I wouldn't turn on the fan at all. Get through that as fast as you can. Go through the lowest radiated area if you can. But my advice is don't even try it. You know, that's like, that's an extremely desperate thing to do. Don't do it. So what you can do during that time, though, if you're hunkered down for a couple of weeks, books. This is a good time to read your books on gardening. Do you have books on gardening? You should. Do you have books on prepper skills? You should. It might be a good chance to set up a pillow across from wherever you're at and blow darts into it. Do you have blow darts? You should. I did a video a long time ago on blow darts, guys. Silent hunting. You could.
Here you go, Greg. Here you go, Greg. Look at that.
What?
Medical survival book.
Yeah.
And the Herbal Bible. It's hard to show up on there, but 2 of my new books that I have, y'all should have books and a paperback. None of this cell phone crap, none of this computer crap. You need to have hard books. All right.
There you go. There you go. I don't hear you now. I've lost you. I lost your voice.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I can. Now I can.
Okay. Yep.
Very good. If you're talking, I'm not hearing you now.
No, I'm not talking right now.
Okay, very good, very good. All right, so I got to minimize this screen so I can see your face. I had the chat screen up on the front there, so I'll watch the chat screen over here. I got to go back. We had a lot of chat going on. We got 126 people in the room right now, which is awesome. And
fantastic.
So I got to go back and check some of that chat as we go here. But that first 24 hours is crucial to get in position to hunker down as soon as you can. Get home. We talked a lot about getting home. And now, so what do you do in the next 24 hours is you practice your skills. If it's a radiation event and you can't get out, one thing you do is practice your skills, read the books, and just practice. You're going to be doing it for the next 2 weeks, maybe. And you'll go bored out of your skull. Make sure you've got pots to take care of your waste in. Make sure you got water, storage, and food right there where you're at. If it's a place in your house like where I'm at, this is where I'll probably do it right here. I got a lot of junk piled up around here. There's a lot of junk overhead, and I got water tanks from aquaponics right outside the door. If I hunker down, this is probably the least irradiated place I would get. Now, as fallout settles down, if you're in the cities or someplace where you've got like a high-rise tower, you're better off to go way up in it because most of the radiation will be on the ground at that point. Don't be near the roof. You don't want to be too close to the roof. You don't want to be too close to the ground. If you're in a city, in the middle of those high rises would be best. If you're still there and it's still got windows on it, after a blast wave, that's not too likely unless you're in a city that was just downwind and the fallout dropped on you. Of course, if you know all that's happening, you know it's coming. Get out. Don't be there. All right, Stacy. Tell me, you talk.
All right, guys.
What's your advice? Maybe we're talking about EMP, not nuclear. I just wanted to get the nuclear stuff out of the way.
And I'll just throw this in there on the nuke thing too. Rubbermaid tote, guys, with one bale of pine shavings. It's going to save you're not going to be breathing in the ammonia from the urine and the feces smell. You're composting your stool already right then and there, right? And you're already prepping for your gardens. All right. So
you can add two things to that: lime, throwing on lime as you go, if you can get some garden lime, or better yet, egg lime, because that don't have all the chemicals in it, which means your worms won't mind it. Throw down the egg lime and then throw down a layer of paper. Do your business in the shavings. You can just layer it, and you can tap it down if you have to. Just layer after layer after layer. And a little old tote would work just fine. Or if you can get a 5-gallon bucket and set it inside of a chair and make yourself a makeshift composting toilet.
Yep, that's right. That's right. It's very important. But I'm just going to take 2 minutes and recap what I said for the first 24 hours, and I'll do that really quick. So number one, whoever is closest to the children in public school or wherever they are for that matter at that point, your job is to get those children quickly and get home. If your vehicle is still running, praise God, use it, go. But understand that when you get there, the vehicle must be locked and you must have the great equalizer, self-preservation equipment, if you know what I mean, guys, the right to bear arms. Because even those parents will be in a desperate situation. The teachers, the administration will be in desperate situation. Get your children any way, shape, and how you can. And prepare that the schools may be on lockdown, that you may have to go above and beyond to get your children out, okay? So that's number one. Children are the most important. And number two, paper maps. Always paper maps and make sure they're updated because a lot of times they don't update like Google Maps does, okay? My husband works further away from the home site, from the farm. So his job is to get home as quickly as he can with his get home bags and his supplies and his clothes and his little pup tent that he has. And on the way, it is his obligation to go to his parents who live very close to his employment, then to my mother's and my grandfather's. And he is going to pick up those elders in the family because we're not leaving them behind. We have a time period that we have said, all right, if dad is not home within X amount of time, that's going to be a concern. But hopefully within this first 24 hours, your spouse is home with both spouses are home, one with the children and the other one with the loved ones that they would have picked up on the way, if that is part of your plan. And you have mothers, grandparents, and things like that you want to take care of. So that's kind of the first 24 hours. And then adding to that, that individual that goes to get those kids and is closer to that home site to get home and secure it. That's my job, is to be on guard, secure it, do security checks, walks around the property, to lock the shops up, to lock the barns up, to lock anything that is an asset that could be ripped off. And trust me, people, even your closest neighbors and friends will rip you off if they know what has happened. 9 times out of 10, most people aren't going to know what happened for at least 2 to 3 days. You know, they're just not going to know unless you tell them. But for the people that know and they're not prepared, they're going to be going door to door right away. And if you're not there to secure that property, your neighbor could look you right in the face with a smile and deny that they stole something. Okay, so get home, secure it, lock everything up. At this point, you're going to want to get those generators running, because now remember, we have food in the freezer. All right, we have perishables that need to be taken care of. Now you're going to be busy with that first day, just doing that, get that up and going. Hopefully by that evening or later, you know, midnight, whatever, your spouse gets home. Now you got 2 eyes on site. That's when one individual starts doing the security, and they're watching, and they're, you know, they're taking that mantle up and that position up. Now the other, and hopefully with the other family members and friends, you're getting in them freezers. You are canning. Now this is most likely going to be at midnight that night. I said in the first video, be prepared not to sleep for 2 full days. Now you want to keep your wits about you, want to keep your mind about you, right? So power naps of an hour, 2 hours, while other people are keeping that production going. You're getting in them freezers. Like right now, I have a whole cow in the freezer in quarters that I have to cut up. I have to make into hamburger. I have to can, and I have to do this. So God forbid if this were to happen right now, and everybody's home, after everybody's home, that's my priority, is to get that canned, cured, all right, smoked, what have you. If you have at that point, you don't have canning jars, everybody should now understandably, most people don't have a whole cow in their freezer, Greg. All right, most people have a month, 2 months, if that, 2 weeks of meat. But you're going to want to secure whatever you have to give your family that the best chance they have to survive. There is no, Greg, making hamburgers day 2. Oh, we got this meat, let's eat it up. You know, that's what most people are going to do. At this point, we are rationing what we have. We are making beef jerky, right? We're salt curing, we're smoking, we're making jerky, and we're going to elongate the life of that meat product, whatever it is, chicken, pork, whatever, as long as we can. Don't be going hog wild. And this is the thing you hear in a lot of these prepper books, you know, or even the YouTube channels, you know, whatever meat you have in the freezer, you got to eat it up because it's going to rot. Do not do that. This is survival. You have to act as if you were in the woods, if you were in the wilderness, and you had to preserve that meat to, you know, for as long as you can. That's what you're going to be doing. So understand at this time, well, one spouse, family members, whatever, are consistently working on that food to get that cured, salt cured, sugar cured, smoked, canned, and even dehydrated. If you were smart and got you have a fuel supply at this point, and you still have an electric, whether it's an electric dehydrator or a solar dehydrator, which would be best, get that stuff dehydrated. That's when we're doing this. Now the other spouse, family members, what have you, are implementing the security plans that you had in place. You all need to have security plans in place. Now, for me, my husband is here. He's going to help me lift, you know, lifting the hind leg of a cow that, you know, weighs 350 pounds. He's going to help me with that. He's going to help me with those things. But his primary job is going to be implementing that security with whatever men women, whomever is on the property at that time. And you guys, I'm old fashioned. I'm not going to say the woman's place is in the kitchen, but in this kind of situation, traditional roles are going to come back, Greg. Traditional role. I mean, unless you are a woman that's in the military and you're highly, effectively trained in security and in combat and things like that, most women need to be in the kitchen because they're the weaker link here. All right. Let your men go out and do what they need to do. You got your job. And now while you're doing your job, ladies, you need to have a sidearm. You need to be packing even in your house. The second you're up from your nap, what have you, that it needs to be beside your bed, you're packing 24/7 every day now from this point forward. But I do believe that these traditional roles are just going to come back and play because it's just, the stronger always go into the battle. The women and children should be protected. And so let your men be men, women. There's no place for women's liberation and none of this nonsense if this goes down. Do your role and shut your hole. I know you women are going to be upset, but listen, our role is just as important to feed the family as it is for the men to protect the family. I know even Greg's getting a little red, but I say this because I come up against these women and you say that your spouse or your husband's going to be implementing security and they just think that, why can't the husband be doing the meat? We're going old school here, you guys. If you're a student of history, you know that the men go into battle. And even the Vikings, we have this Hollywood narrative and this propaganda that the Vikings and the Norse people, there was tons of women that went to war. That just wasn't the case. Shield maidens were very rare. The women and the children were protected. They were protected. And this is kind of the mentality that we have to have. Because if we're not there to protect the family unit, Greg, what are we doing? What are we doing? We're going into this lone wolf nonsense, right? Everybody's in it for themselves. And we're going to have worse than what anarchy would even be. All right. So just willfully go into your roles, work together as a cohesive unit, know where you begin and where you end. That's what I tell people when I go to libraries and churches and I do public engagements. Know where you begin and know where you end. And if you're coming to a place at this point by day 2, by hour 48, right, you may be reaching now that bug out location because you would have left your home, you would have brought your family. Now understand when you come to that bug out location, if it's somebody else's property and somebody else's home, you are there to serve. You are there to serve. If that family says you are to go here, you are to pick weeds, you are to be on security, whatever, do it. Because listen, you're only as good as your willingness to produce on that property. You're only as good as your willingness to work on that property. So it's preferred that all these families have a plan ahead of time, right? But if you're going into another's family, you're in their home, you're on their property, you're hopefully you would have already brought preparations and Greg's dry food, survival food, and all, and your family would have that there. But Greg, I guarantee you that's not the case for 99% of the people watching this right now. They're gonna get their bags, pack their bags, take the little canned goods that they have, and they're gonna show up on people's doors. And I've already had people tell me, if something happens, I'm coming to your house. And I openly tell you to people, you show up on my doorstep, not welcome, you're going to be escorted off by, at the hand of a double barrel, So understand this. This is no time for none of this social construct nonsense we have going on now. You need to be about business. You need to be about work during this time. Okay. Now, Craig, is there anybody any questions or they're complaining about what I just said? Because I can't see any questions.
Tom Collier says his wife can't cook.
She'll learn real quick. She'll either learn or she'll starve.
Oh, he said he had to cook everything.
Yeah, no, that's for a lot of people. I'm not the greatest cook either, believe it or not. I can can anything. I can do a long term, but it's a lot of basic foods. I mean, it's not like we're out here canning, Chinese cuisine or something like that, right? We're canning chili, we're canning beef, we're canning very basic recipes. So anybody can cook in an SHIT situation. You either alone or you're going to have problems. Any other questions?
Oh, we got Tom laughing at least.
Yeah, there's not a lot of women that will talk with like me, Greg, but facts are facts. You know what? I trained in jujitsu, Greg, and okay, guys, if I back up, I'm a big woman. I have big shoulders. I milk cows. I'm a farm girl. Okay. A lot of times I have to train with the men, the 250, 300-pound men, because the women they're just too small. Even I, as big as I am, Greg, and as strong as I am, I can't compete with the men. I have choked out a couple men in my years and stuff like that. But if man gets on top of a woman, it doesn't matter how big and strong you are. You're going to be taken down unless they're really tiny. I've taken down some really smaller men, but you're big men. And this is just a fact. Men are bigger, stronger, denser muscles, bigger lungs, bigger heart, bigger tendons, all this stuff. And in this kind of situation, these are the things you need to think of. As far as I'm concerned, my ultimate priority is to protect my children. Okay. And so I have to allow my man to do his job and what we've planned for. There's just no time for any of that political, social construct nonsense. I'm just going to reiterate.
Okay, we got one challenge. Julie Folly or Fall, I can't make out. I think it's Julie Fall says, "What if you have no men?" And I know there are groups out there where there just ain't no guys around. And we're living in a day and age where a third of the guys don't work, and maybe half the ladies don't want them around. I don't know, especially if
and Greg, that is true. That could happen. But I'm going to tell you, Julie, you need to get men. No, I'm serious. You cannot be a group of women on your own. I'm going to tell you why. Because I was going to get into this on my channel. Within 3 to 5 days, when those prisons are opened up, when those rapists and those pedophiles are moving around, they're going to start putting groups together. And the biggest money-making criminal act in the world right now is human trafficking. And you will be your community's biggest target to be kidnapped and trafficked for sex or work. And that is a fact. And any culture, historically and even to this present day, women get the brunt of history. We are at the bottom of the totem pole when it comes to being successful in hard times, if I would put it that way. We are looked at as a commodity by many, and that is a huge threat. So if you don't have men, you better find a community that has some. If you don't have them in your family, you better reach out to your neighbors. And now don't be that woman that goes out to find a man to seduce him so that he can save your life. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about
that won't even work.
That wouldn't even work. There's going to be a lot of those women, Greg. There's going to be a lot of those women doing whatever they can to snatch up a man just so that they can protect him. They're going to use their body. They're going to use whatever feminine wiles that they have to do that. Don't be that woman. Join with other men to be an asset. All right. To come together and be equals and do those roles. I know that's a hard situation, but it's a fact. I mean, I just looked up statistically today, the countries that still have slavery: Afghanistan, places in Africa, Nigeria.
That's impossible. CRT teaches us that only do that. So that's
a lot of Middle Eastern, African countries, even Russia. The Russian government's fighting it. It's still there.
It can't happen that way. We're
the biggest, where the biggest sex trafficking capital in the United States is? It's in Cincinnati, Ohio. It's a distribution. And NFL games.
NFL games. Wow.
NFL games.
Probably super
Any
cool, worst of all.
So women, my point to this is you need men. You just do. It's a fact. We're in this 48th hour now. By this time, my daughters, their hair is cut. My 12-year-old, their hair is cut. My head is shaved. Our heads are shaved. We are going to be as masculine looking as we absolutely can. So we are not targets. And that is just the way it goes. Just look at what happened in Somalia, Greg. Look at what's going on. You know, look at what happened in Iraq when ISIL came in and what they did to these women. It's just a historical fact. Find men if you don't have them, and allow your men to be men if you have them. All right. So I'm going to move on. So we've done the.
We got 217 people in the room and only 125 thumbs up. So half of you only give us thumbs up, guys. It really helps the algorithms if you give us thumbs up. We really do that on these channels. So everybody jump in and give a thumbs up if you at all can. Please let us know where you stand. And if you can't give me a thumbs up, give me a thumbs down and come in the chat room and tell us why. So don't be a beta male. Don't be a sissy. Don't crap out on us here. Let us know what you think. So yeah, somebody asked about what about beta males, and I said, well, they're just gonna have to suck it up. They're gonna have to toughen it up.
Yeah,
look,
they'll have to.
Here's the thing, guys. You either survive or you don't.
That's right.
And look, to survive, you're gonna have to be tough. There's a reason I put my dad on when I still had him available, and I knew that he had a lot to teach us about when he was growing up in that era. It wasn't survival as we think of today. It's just how they made a living. And it was hard. It was arduous. He would tell you in a minute, they had to scratch for a living. I mean, they worked from sundown. They ate food like an Olympic trainer in those days. They ate a lot of food just to do the work they did. I mean, they were out busting it all day long. And what did they get in return for it? Something to eat. They didn't have material goods. They had maybe a change of clothes if they were lucky to wear something on Sunday while their other clothes might get washed. They had, they didn't have closets. They didn't have 2 pairs of shoes. They didn't have gadgets. They had a little cookware, a couple pots, and they might be able to go to the store if they were lucky and buy coffee and sugar and salt, maybe tobacco, a little cloth to make clothes out of. The women would make clothes. Guys, they didn't have nothing. And yet they worked themselves endlessly to get that. And that's where we're going to wind up back in if we're not careful. If we still got a lot of the junk left over from our industrial age, there'll be plenty of things laying around that we can make use of. But it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. You're going to have to really grind. And that's where a lot of the young people are going to have a tough time. And a lot of any people any age for that matter, because we got soft in this day of having all the machines do all the work for us. I mean, we talked about generators again. And somebody asked me about generators. Let's go into the generators. Generators will be good for a short period of time. If the grid's down, you may not be able to buy any more gas after a certain point. So they will help you keep your food stored just a little bit longer, maybe while you're making jerky or cake or whatever. They'll keep your stuff going just a little bit longer. Now, you might be smart and able to make wood gas to keep that gas power generator going. Check out, videos on making wood gas. One of these days, I got to get into that. You might be able to make biodiesel for some of the diesel stuff. But guys, at some point, the fuel runs out, or even if you are making biodiesel and wood gas, the parts on the generators will just start wearing out.
Yeah.
And eventually you're going to run out of that stuff. Eventually you're not going to have electricity. Now you might have solar that might last a while longer until things, if it's not fried by your EMPs and such and so forth. But but then again, there's the downside of the generators are this: when you turn that generator on, it screams. They're loud, and it's I'm right here. I got power, and I got something worth keeping powered. Now, for the first few days, while people are just getting adjusted, that might not be such a big deal. But down the road, when people are really hungry and looking for targets, you're going to be a big target. And One other thing in the meantime, though, about generators and keeping your gas going and stuff like that, you don't have to run the generator 24/7. That's crazy. We had power out here for a week when the tornadoes came through here in 2011, April the 27th, I believe, in 2011. I would run my generator for about 4 hours. Maybe.
Yeah, Greg, you don't have your freezers. If you didn't run a generator at all, your freezer will keep 3 to 4 days as long as you keep it shut. So when you run your generators, you only run them 4 to 6 hours, depending on how big that is. Shut it down.
Oh yeah, freezer and refrigerator protocol. Put the stuff you use the most in the front, so you're not spending time with the door open. Digging around in there. The stuff that you use the most needs to be up front, and pack your refrigerator like that right now, just in case. Don't be in there rummaging around. The stuff that you need the most, and some things don't need to be in the refrigerator. Ketchup, mustard, mayonnaise does. The ketchup, mustard. There's some stuff, eggs even.
Get eggs out.
There's some stuff, pickles. That stuff don't need to be in a refrigerator. Take it out so you're not going in and out to get that stuff, because that's just you're just using your cool and making your stuff spoil sooner.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and here's a suggestion to all you who are contemplating buying freezers and deep freezers: do not get an upright. Every time you open the door on an upright, you lose all your cool air. You lose it all. It falls out the bottom. You get a deep freeze. You get a deep freezer, a box freezer. When you open that top, the cool air drops to the bottom, and you keep your cool air. Okay, so I've never been one where I've told people to get a upright freezer, because they're just not as efficient. But so as Greg said, during this time, you are rationing the use of your generator, your gas, and so on and so forth. Now, Greg, my husband, for many years was a safety coordinator. Okay. So what he did for the company, he's still at the same company, he's just got a different position right now. He implemented safety protocols and safety design for the manufacturing company. So you have to have some sort of a safety program, a safety plan. All right. From the start of this happening, folks, from this point on, you have to be so careful. If you can't get to a hospital, if you can't get antibiotics, a cut to the finger while you're chopping up your meat can kill you. All right. So I would hope that you would have those antibiotics, those fish antibiotics, those things. And guys, I have them. You can get them off of chewy.com. You can get Doxy. There's 4 or 5 different types of antibiotics you can get there, and there's other places you can get. And the fact of the matter is, you look for Thomas Labs. Thomas Labs is FDA approved. It's the same exact medicines that they give to people, except they put a pet label on it. Okay, guys, you can buy them on the internet. I would hope that you have those in your medical storage. All right. And they usually last up to 2 years, just so you know. They last longer. My husband works for a vitamin company, so understand that most of the dates on everything is way sooner than what they poop out. Okay. So from this point on, you want to implement a safety protocol. Okay. You are being very careful even about lifting that meat out of the freezer so that you don't throw your back out. At this point, Greg, everybody is, like we just stated, everybody's so out of shape, right? Everybody is obese. The people that got the diabetes that is self-induced by weight and overeating, that's going to disappear real quick. All right. So you're going to want to be very careful not to hurt your back, sprain an ankle, cut yourself, because medical safety is just as important as the security of the property. Okay, and whatever plan you come up with. All right. In my home, nobody under the age of 13 is using knives for cooking. Right. The kids can be shucking peas by hand and stuff like this, but kiddies aren't using knives at this point. And some people may disagree with that and say, oh, back in the old days they did that. But back in the 1800s, they would have more medical security and more doctors and stuff to go to than we will have in this situation. The hospitals are going to be the last place you want to go. Would you agree, Greg?
Oh yeah, it's going to be mayhem if you can get into them, and they're not going to have power. The doctors are going to be at wit's ends because they're not used to operating the way they're going to have to operate. They're used to nice hospitals that's got all the amenities. They're going to have nothing except
That's right.
what they know in their hip pocket.
You know, and if this present day virus is still going around and all these other stuff, you're going to want to keep away from people. During this time, you know, if you like, you should have been meeting with your neighbors, but if you suspect at this time that your neighbor is sick, stay the heck away from them. Do not go near them. You will have to implement even quarantine protocols on your property for the people coming in. If you got people that you prior invited to your property and they're sick, you better have quarantine protocols in a room that they can go to. Guys, say what you want about this present and, you know, this virus. I had it. It was tough. I could have died. I know people that have died from this, and we don't want to be in a situation where we welcome that type of thing on our properties, or that you take it. You know, Greg, if these viewers are sick, you better stay home. Number one reason, because you won't make the trip.
Well, yeah, that's true. Now, also think about this. If in a situation like this, there's going to be other diseases. A lot of new diseases are going to break out just because of lack of sanitation. And that's going to be one of the biggest threats to life at that point. And it will be contaminated water. So a lot of it will be waterborne, but some of it will be stuff that will catch from people to people. There's going to be a huge outbreak of all kind of just natural diseases that we used to see way back when. We got rid of a lot of those, not because of, they tell us it's all because of stuff we stuck in our arm, but mostly it was sanitation.
Yeah, it was education and cleanliness. Yeah.
Suddenly your sanitation is out the window.
Right.
A lot of people aren't going to be able to find soap. One of the things you ought to be prepping, buy soap. Buy a lot of soap. Buy paper plates so you don't have to wash those things as much, because you need to burn stuff anyway. Buy plastic forks and spoons. I hate to say it. I hate plastic, but you know, it will get you through without wasting so much water. And time of washing, because your times you're going to be so busy just trying to get prepared the first few weeks. You're not going to have time to think about all the day-to-day things that you used to do.
Right. And I highly suggest that people have vitamins and minerals during this time, during this transition going into work. Your bodies are going to reject what you're doing. I'm just going to tell you. Even me, when I go, because I milk cows and I do chores all winter long, but when I get into spring and I start planting, and I do a lot of planting, man, Greg, I have the back of my legs, they burn. I gain 10 pounds every winter. This is just Wisconsin, because you're just not as active, you know, in the winter months. We're still active, but we just can't move as quick. We can't, you know, it's just a different situation. You got clothes on. So your body is going to reject what you're doing. So have them vitamins and the minerals so that, you know, your legs aren't cramping. You don't want to be in a situation where you're having back spasms and leg spasms, and all of a sudden you got somebody trying to come in, you know, on your property and take what you have. This is not a situation. So medical safety is just as important. If you're going to have to face somebody off and go into combat, you want to do that healthy and so you can move and be mobile. So you're implementing all these things at that time. As I said, if the neighbors are healthy and you've had a prior relationship with them, you are now who's ever on security or whoever's the ambassador of your property. You're not going to be sending grandma or grandpa. You're not going to be sending the family that's coming from a town an hour away, because the neighbors don't know them. So it will be somebody from that family. You need to be ambassadors. You need to start at this point to implement a community plan. Keep to yourself what you have that you're not willing to share. If there is something that you have that is is over in abundance where you can help your community out. If you're a farmer, a producer of some sort, you know, we got people out here that we just talked about soap. Maybe they make soap and they got a basement full of soap and it would take them 10 years to use it. Hey, you know, I've got this, and then the neighbor may have that. At this point, we're starting to create that community atmosphere. I scratch your back, you scratch mine. And all the while, we're talking security, and we're encouraging our neighbors to be packing all the time, to be watching out for the threats. And we're educating, because let's be honest, Greg, I don't care if you live in the country. I don't care. I live amongst farmers, country folks, and the Amish. Right? I'm in a huge Amish community. And for all you people out there that romanticize that and think, oh, Amish will survive everything. They're just as dependent on the system as you and I are. People don't understand that. They use propane for their stoves. They use propane to put lighting in their homes. They use propane to heat their homes sometimes. And yes, many of them, even here in Wisconsin, have coal burning stoves, which there'll be wood and coal, but some of them are just coal. And if you don't have a wood burning stove, you know, if you don't use the stove the way it's supposed to, you can have a major disaster. The Amish do not put up, I put up more food than all the Amish around here that do. They'll have a small little garden with 4 or 5 tomato plants and this and that, and they'll do their little pickling stuff. But most of the time when you see them with the gardens, those are market gardens. They're not putting all that stuff up for themselves. You will see in my community just as many people shopping at Walmart and Sam's Club and the Mennonites as regular folk. And they are dependent on you and I to give them rides everywhere. Those buggies and those horses are only for 5 to 8 miles. They don't take them any farther than that. It's not like a vehicle, guys. You got to remember, in this situation, this is what I tell people as much since the time I met Greg and started learning about this. I said, all right, I was very prayerful about this, and I heard the Holy Spirit very clearly. Just be prepared to go back to the dark ages. There's a lot of you guys out there that are talking solar. We're going to do this to keep that electrical grid up. That's just, to me, it's a stupid plan. You should be preparing to live as they did during the dark ages and be successful and thrive during it. We don't need refrigeration to survive. We don't need electricity to survive. All we need is a little heat to keep us warm and clothing on our back and food in our belly. And there is ways to do that without being dependent on this modern day system. So guys, understand during this first 24, 48 hours, there is going to be an emotional breakdown. Be prepared. As prepared and as much as I thought about this, I may cry for 2 hours. I may go up in my room, grab my babies, hold them, and bawl my eyes out, get it out of my system, because you are going to have to prepare your hearts and your minds for what is about to come on the land. You will see your family members die. You will see your neighbors die. You will have to kill people at this point. I have no doubt about that. And you better, in your head, in your heart now, understand that if somebody's coming to take or kill yours, that is not murder. It's not premeditated murder. It's survival. It is survival. And you better prepare your heart for that. Because I know a lot of people at this point, when they start thinking about what's going to happen, they're going to lose their minds, Greg. And those people that are already on antidepressants and a lot of drugs for, depression and stuff like that, they're going to start plummeting, thinking about what's going on. So already now, at this point, you are preparing your heart, preparing your mind. And one of the ways to get through that emotional low, that emotional collapse, as you would say it, is to stay busy, keep working, keep focused. Focus on your family and the job that you have at hand. And remember that I'm a believer. I'm a believer in the Creator, in the Most High, that there is a God that has control over all this stuff, that He still holds the world in His hand. All right. And keep that hope. I just made a video yesterday. I talk to people a lot. I get messages, I get emails from my channels a lot. And Greg, people are starting to lose hope already. So imagine after 24, 48 hours, how hopeless they're going to be if they're already losing it and nothing's happened. So you need to be physically strong, physically healthy, mentally strong, and mentally healthy.
Yeah. You know, I tell people all the time, don't panic. Now, it's going to be hard at this point. See, the thing is, if you haven't mentally prepared yourself for this, you'll be in a state of shock, especially when you start getting attacked. So you've got to think these things out ahead of time. You got to wrap your noodles around it. So when it comes, it's not going to catch you unawares. So you won't be a deer in the headlights. There's been so many other prepper channels that don't panic. I'll tell you when to panic. No. Don't ever panic. Because when you panic, you lose your head. And when you lose your head, you might actually lose your head, literally.
Yeah.
So there are people that they'll take you out for so many reasons. Like you mentioned, human trafficking will be high on the priority list initially. And then it may just be cannibalism down the road when it gets really desperate. People will be just satisfying whatever urges they got with whoever they find. And it can be very extremely nasty. Now, let's kind of focus a little bit on the first 24 hours again, because I think we've gone beyond that. But and it's okay. We should probably go back beyond that. But
I wanted to say one thing real quick.
24 hours. So it's going to be preparing and putting up your food, like Stacy said, getting your things ready, taking that stuff in your freezer and canning it if you've got the ability to do that. And see her Sustainable Stewards channel. Mods, somebody posted a link to her Sustainable Stewards channel. That's got videos, a lot of stuff on canning and preparing food. And that's one of the things you really, really need to know. You need to understand that and how to make jerky, salted meat, things like that. Whatever you can do to preserve the stuff that's in your freezer, because it's not going to last too long. So bear in mind what she's saying on that. That's very important. And what else would you do in the first 24 hours? Second 24 hours. We've already talked about
the second 24 hours. We're also implementing our water plans. All right. If you have electric water pumps in your wells, you are removing those water pumps and you are installing your hand pumps, right? Your hand pumps now at this point that you've already bought, hopefully. All right. If you don't have the hand pumps and you decided to go with a solar electrical setup, you are getting that in, and hopefully somebody on the property knows how to put those things together. Okay, you have to know this ahead of time. If you don't have any of those options, you are figuring out, in your mind's eye, where the closest creek, pond, river, lake are. And you are now strategically going already. You are sending people 2x2 or 3x3. Nobody's ever alone at this point, to go physically walk or ride their bikes with trailers to get water. And that purification system has to be implemented once that water is back. Needs to be boiled and filtered. Boiled and filtered. You're doing this. Water is life. We talk about food, right? I talked about food first, and the only reason I did that because I'm hoping the people here already had some water and prepared in some bottled water and storage. But there's a bigger plan for the water to have it being sustainable. If you have livestock, you would have already been making those trips, right, to fill those tanks. That water does not have to be purified. That water does not have to be filtered for livestock or dogs. You just give it to them, okay? But you better have, by day 2, you better be doing whatever installations you need to do to have that water up and running, because now we're burning we're burning more than 2,000 calories, and we're burning calories and calories. Folks, my grandmother, who passed away a couple years ago, at 95 years old, she was raised on lard sandwiches during, just coming out of the Depression and into the 40s. She was raised on lard. You guys know what lard is? Some people don't even know. Lard is basically cooked down fat of a pig. That is lard. It would be like what you put in your pan for frying, what people used to do. Great grandma used to take a piece of bread, put it over the wood burning stove to toast it, and they'd get lard on there. They worked from sun up to sundown and lived off of lard sandwiches, potatoes, because up here, you know, it's cold up here. You lived off of what you could grow, potatoes and carrots. So understand you are going to be burning more calories. The idea I can't eat red meat, I can't have fat, it's out the window at this point. If, you know, I'm a big girl, I'm not worrying even at this point about putting on weight because it's going to come off very fast. You're going to lose weight very rapidly. And because of that, and I'm going to tell you this because I do this every spring, I lose 10 to 15 pounds within 2 to 3 weeks. I lose it very fast, just from the amount of work that I have to do. My inner ear cannot adjust very quickly. And so I'll have 2 weeks where I have terrible vertigo. I'll stand up and just and fall over. And so understand that when you're losing weight rapidly, that may happen. That is a thing. You can get terrible vertigo from fast weight loss. So whatever you can do to mitigate those things, again, that's a part of that health security. You're going to want to do that. Just going to walk to get the water every day. You may, I don't know, most people don't live around a lake anymore. Most people don't live around, you might have to walk 5 miles. And you better darn well have barrels and things and a wagon of types to haul that stuff. Because, you know,
wheelbarrows are very important to have.
Yeah.
So remember wheelbarrows. Of course, backpacks help. Wheelbarrows are very important. If you got a wagon you could pull, like a kid's wagon, that might help. If you got goats or some small livestock, you can hook them up to do some of that little wagon pulling for you. You'd be surprised what they could pull. You can even make wagons they could pull. I know an old guy who was called the Goat Man. He used goats to pull them all over the countryside. And he survived.
Dogs to pull small stuff too. I got Great Pyrenees. My boy is 200 pounds. He can pull over 400 pounds alone. So use your animals if you have them. Absolutely. And that's another thing, Greg, is we're talking animals. Be prepared. If you like for me, my Great Pyrenees, they live off of the scraps of the bones of the meat and things like this. Now, at the point when we are living like this, you are boiling them bones. You are doing everything to get everything out of it, right? But we can't eat chicken bones, right? So a little tip for you is if you boil chicken bones enough, they'll actually turn into like soft, like a powder. Just feed that to your animals. The animals are getting scraps at this point. Dogs are going to get skinny, just like you're going to get skinny. You know, I'm praying for everybody, Greg, because I've been studying a lot on like Rwanda and just a lot of places in Africa and the Middle East, and just cities and regions that have terrible war. Whether it's war or it's an EMP, it doesn't matter. The outcome is all the same. And you know, people are lucky to survive. People are lucky if they survive, blessed if they survive, you know, and they didn't do it because they were waiting for somebody to come and save them. You know, they did it because they got up and they decided they were going to live. They decided and they chose to live, and they were going to get their family through it. And that's what people are going to have to do.
Yeah. Wow. So we had a lot of comments, a lot of stuff's going through. I can't even keep up with them. Somebody earlier, it talked about people that have self-entitlement issues. It was Mystic Bingos said, you know, they talked about like homeless people and just other people think you're there to serve them, you know, and that they have actual issues with entitlement, you know, just because they exist, they think they're entitled to everything for nothing. Well, that's not going to, you know, they're going to be a problem for you. You got to watch them. But guys, in the end, the only people that's going to survive are them that pull their own weight and pull hard.
Yeah.
You know, this whole freeloading isn't going to last long. People might put up with freeloaders for a short period of time, but after a point, they're not going to put up with that at all. So just keep that in mind. And
well, even Christians will pull that line. They'll say, "Well, you're your brother's keeper," and I'll say, "Well, number one,
workers the salt of the earth too. Remember that."
Yeah, but and I say, Greg, I don't know that one. I don't know them people. They're not my brother. They're not my sister.
I think somewhere in the Bible says that you don't eat if you don't work too.
Yeah, that's right. That's what it said.
You know, if you don't work, you don't eat. So,
now, I am all for, like, already with the CSA and what I have here. I offer food share programs already. You know, if somebody's willing to work and help, I
And
mean, farmers, I said this in my last video, the first 24 for farmers. What are they going to do? Farmers are going to want people to help them to work. You know, you scratch my back, you scratch yours. But that self entitlement, um, yeah, those type of people are going to be a problem because they think you owe them something. We don't owe them nothing. We don't owe them nothing.
hey, you're not owed the breath in your lungs. You don't.
That's
You don't, and some people may not even deserve the breath in their lungs, to be honest. So, what it gets down to is everybody that's got a farm needs help. Every little survival group needs help. You need people that can work hard. You need people that are skilled, that know how to do things when there's no power. And you need people who can pull those little things that stick down from, with a little guard around it on little things I call nugs, if you know what I'm talking about. Basically you need squads. You need to form squads that can go out and take care of business.
That's right.
And that's, and you need to send a squad out for the water. And talking about water, one of the things I've noticed early on here, I know where there's a spring here that I've lived here for 30 years, and that spring never went dry.
That's great. That's great.
In this house that has not been dry, even when we had droughts. The worst of drought, that spring had water in it. So I take mental note of things like that. Better know how to collect rainwater. You better know, maybe you know how to dig a well. I've got a well, but right now it's got an electric pump on it. I've got a bucket somewhere that I can drop down it. You can make a bucket with PVC pipe that if you can put a little valve in the bottom, you can rig up a valve that will, when it drops in, open up, put a little spring, make a little device with the spring, so that when it drops in something, it'll open up. Then when you pull it up, it'll shut. Then you get all that out of the well. It don't need to be so big around, because most wells aren't big around.
And Greg,
big around.
Those people that are doing that, they better dang well talk to their local well diggers and things like that, and go to the county, and they better find out how deep the aquifers are. Because like here, our aquifer is 375 feet deep, and it goes to 550 feet. Nobody's digging a well here. Okay. When we're water abundant, we got creeks and rivers and ponds, and because Wisconsin just got water everywhere. But nobody's digging a well here, especially with the amount of rock and stuff that we have here. But if you get up into the UP, a lot of the groundwater is at about 8 to 10 feet. Very easily you could dig a well, even a PVC well. As long as you got a point with some PVC, you'll get water.
And that groundwater wells, you want to purify and sanitize it.
Yeah.
Again, check out my video on purifying and sanitizing water. That's a very important video to see. So,
is there any other questions there, Greg?
Yeah, we got a lot of questions coming through here. It's just hard to keep up with everything. So most of our human history, we spent most of our money on food. That's true. Let's see what I'm gonna read here. Guys, if you got, let's see, trade, barter. Uncle Greg, are you eating breaded and fried worms? Well, they are worth a lot just to keep the garden going. So probably only in the last ditch, guys. Those worms are going to be very, very critical to keeping the garden going. Remember, worms are what you use to keep from having to go to town to buy your fertilizers and such.
Yeah.
So, the worms will help you grow even more food than you'd get out of eating them directly. Although, if you was about to starve to death, yeah, so I suppose so.
Yeah, city folks, urban dwellers, if you plan on staying in that area, if you got fenced in yards and you plan on growing, worms is the way to go. Like I have livestock, so I have manure and things like that at my fingertips. But if you're in town, you don't have those things unless you're raising rabbits. So
hey, even with livestock, most livestock manures will burn your plants up. If you take that manure and put it in a worm bed, the worms will turn it into worm castings, and you put your plant straight in it, and it will release the nutrients slowly over time, and it will not burn your plants.
Yeah, any manure, a cow, pig, and cow and pig manure, horse manure has to be composted 2 years before you apply it. Chicken manure should optimally be
put it to the
3 years.
Put it in the worm bed, and 3 months later you can use it.
Yeah. See, now here I have compost piles. So.
Worms work magic.
Yeah. And I did want to mention, I know like in Kentucky, Ohio, a lot of those type of places, like around Appalachia, There are people that own land that have salt aquifers. You've heard of these, Greg, where they actually have salt. Folks, if you have that on your property, you have a life source asset like nothing else. That water can be boiled down and you have salt. And guys, wars have been started and fought over salt, over the control of salt.
There's a salt trick. Take hickory, little sticks from hickory trees, or a little bark, inner bark, take and break it up, put it in a container and boil it. And do that several times repeatedly. And the brown residue on the inside of your pot ought to be salty.
Yep. And you can, for sugar, you can do that with maple and birch trees and things like that too. I just make maple syrup. It's easier and you can add that as sugar. But I've on Sustainable Stewards, I've talked about salt and sugar before. Folks, you should have hundreds of pounds of salt, hundreds of pounds of sugar.
And so I told you how to get your salt and sugar from the trees.
Right.
So,
yeah.
So, well, she told you the sugar side of it. I gave you the salty end of it. She's sweet and I'm salty. What do you expect from a guy and a girl? That's the way it ought to be. So, and anyway, let's see, Greg, can you eat water softener salt? Yeah, I suppose so. I've never used that, but if you go out to hey, that water out there in the desert, Cassandra, is already pre-softened a little bit. It's got a little brine in it.
That's gonna just be like the livestock salt licks. It's not that you can't eat it. There's a lot of dirt in that stew.
Hey, when I was a kid, I used to chip that off and eat it. I didn't know any better. Never. I reckon it didn't hurt me.
Yeah. You wouldn't want a can with it though, because you don't want any possibility of bacteria or anything like that in your canning stuff.
Right. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff that you can do, but again, what I got maples in the Midwest. So most important thing you can do is learn how much you can do. Well, that's true, Soul's Eye. You got to learn your own limits. Salted moonshine was distilled from fermented sugar. Watch what? I don't know about that. Goat manure comes in pellets and is not one huge pile. That's true. It's like rabbit manure, basically.
Yeah.
And rabbit manure actually don't burn stuff up as bad as like cow manure or horse manure. Especially cow manure is one that really burn stuff up.
Rabbit manure you can add direct, and you can goats too. It's not very hot, but here's the thing: you're gonna have to be aware of pathogens. Okay, there's a legitimate threat for you to have pathogens if you are putting non-composted manure on your garden beds, such as rabbits. You're not going to want to put it with your leafy greens where it's touching.
That's true.
Have it with your tomato plants where the fruit is up high, where there's no risk of it touching that. Because I'm telling you,
make your beans are vining. But here's the other thing too. Again, it's what's good about worms is no non-human pathogen has survived in the gut of an earthworm.
Right.
So, like I said, worms do magic. They do a lot of stuff. So they digest and get rid of that stuff. So again, if you don't have a well, if you can put a well in, get a well. Put a well in. Especially if your aquifer is way down there. Now hauling up 300 foot of rope with a bucket might be a lot of work, but it's going to keep you alive. And it's better than marching 10 miles to the water hole.
Right. Now, Greg, if there's folks out there that live in small townships, I grew up in Junction City, which was like 202 people, very small. Okay. We had city water, with the old, the big tank, but every city has wells. Our neighbors still had their original well from the 1800s when the township was built. So if you're smart, you will go to your township and you will get those historical records on where all the wells are in your town. So you don't have to.
Some of the wells cave in. Some of the well cases.
Some of them do.
The dug wells might fare better. I do know where some of the old wells were around here, and the county well isn't that far from me. It may be. It's probably a toss-up whether it or that spring I mentioned is closest. Now, they're both within walking distances from where I'm at. That big spring I mentioned that's been flowing water continuously for over 30 years now, in the worst of droughts. So yeah, knowing those kind of things and where they're at are critical. So it might be a good time to survey your local community or wherever you're going to bug out to, or both, and know these things. Also, if you're going to bug out, you need to survey the trail you're going to use or the path you're going to use to bug out, and think, you may not be in your vehicle the whole time. You might be on foot. So you want to know what's along the way. And even you might want to go ahead and find hiding places to put some caches of goods, just in case you need it. Way carrying everything is going to be rough. So
yeah, that's the thing. You want food caches. You want water resistant, or not just waterproof barrels that seal, that keep out. You're going to want caches of the equalizers, pew-pews, and ammunition. You want caches of that. You want caches of food. You want caches of salt, sugar, and all this. Because you know what, Greg? You might be, if there's a big enough threat, right? If you've got a group of 50 to 100 to whatever, and that are coming and they're going door to door, you're going to want to bug out. You're going to want to take what you can very quickly and load up as much as you can. You're going to want to bug out. You may come back and your house may be burnt down, but you would have those caches there to go back to give yourself
a it's good to bury caches. Now that's the downside of glass. It's kind of hard to bury, but these packages come pre-sealed. That's a cool thing about them. They come pre-sealed. You can bury these directly, and even on top of that, you got redundancy in that these pouches inside are sealed. And those are easy to carry in your bug out, carry in your backpack, or you can take some of these and just basically roll them up and put them in a big PVC pipe, put caps on it, glue it, and bury it somewhere. That would be a quick and dirty, easy. Hey, we got a Diamond here from Oppenheimer Ranch Project in the room. Boom. Yeah, Diamond, there might be some big booms going on soon. We're talking about what you do after the boom, the post-boom Zoom, how to survive here the next 24 hours. And let's see, we had a question up. Oh, yeah. A good question that we got from Cassandra was, well, what about water? Is water going to be radioactive after an event like that? Well, you can filter water. If you filter water, if you have a good enough filter, the radioactive particles should not go through, because there tend to be heavier elements. Now, it might be some, most of it's metals and things like that. You should be able to filter all of that out. That's the good thing about water. If nothing else, you can also boil it. You can distill water, but I would definitely go for filtering, distilling, all those kind of things like that.
Yeah, I always tell people they need to boil and filter.
Yeah. Well, the boiling kills the viruses. So that's why my video, and I often mention purify and sanitize water. And I distinctly separate those two. And I mention that all the time. And I usually pick on Dave Hodges because he talked about purifying water like that's all you needed to do. So I guess poor fellow, I shouldn't pick on him so much. But it's just something to bear in mind. I pick on the bigger channels when they say stuff like that quite a few times. So, all right, Cassandra.
No, Greg, I'm pretty sure in all my research that your well water is just fine as long as
it comes. Yeah, the radiation isn't going to get down that far. You get all that ground. Well water is going to be the thing to go to if you can, or a spring water. If it's coming up out of a spring, it's coming out of deep ground too. Mm-hmm. So the radiation is going to be sitting there on top of the ground. Most of your radioactive stuff is going to be gone. The heaviest part in the first 24 hours, but I still would want to hunker in for 2 weeks if possible. You may not be able to do it. The first 24 hours, oh yeah, you don't want to go out. If you're in an area that's irradiated, you do not want to go out at all the first 24 hours. You're asking for it. After that, you could get out for short little jaunts, to feeding water to animals maybe. But you really don't want to spend any time outdoors. You really don't stay hunkered down as much as possible, at least for the first 2 weeks. And then you can get out some. What's up, Mr. Allison? How have you been? Okay, somebody's asking there. That's good. Sherman, let's see. 3 springs on your property, says Skunk It. Very good. So the more springs you got, the better off you are. Sawyer minute filters, the Sawyer minute filters are good. Yeah, you definitely want to boil it. You're right there, North Alabama hiking. And that's why I cover those separately. And my video on purifying and sanitizing water, I go into several different methods for doing that. And I also teach you another little trick for sanitizing your water. If you have a small clear plastic bottle, and you like tie it on your backpack or wherever you when you're out on maneuvers or whatever, you put it out in the sun somewhere. A glass blocks UV, so this is one time you actually want plastic. And as long as your water is clear, you've purified it and got all the sediments out of it. The sun, hey, Brian, appreciate the super chat. Thank you. First one tonight. Yay, good, very good. We got 250 people in the room, 251 now. Brian's gave us the first super chat. Thank you, Brian. So he says, swivel heads, hammer down. There you go. Swivel wages. There you go. There we go. All right. Thank you, Brian. So this is important to know these things. So kelp says, so yes, kelp is a seaweed. Yeah, I don't know, it might collect stuff eventually. It said the first year of Fukushima, the seaweed was sold out. Yeah, it's got iodine in it. That's right. Seaweed got iodine. So, and there's different things with iodine. You get the salt with iodine.
Yeah, and I always tell people too that, you make sure you have your iodine salt. That's for putting in your foods for eating. You cannot use iodized salt for canning, and you don't want to use it for curing either. You want to get canning salt or just sea salt for those. And actually, that's the cheapest salt you can get. The canning salts and just it's the cheapest salts you can get.
Amen. And thank you, Carl. Thank you, Carl, for the awesome super chat. $20 from Carl Bossomer. Thank you, sir. He said you're amazing. Well, I think you guys are amazing for listening, because those of us that know to prep and are getting ready, what's going to be the people that carry humanity forward. And we want to get as many people on the bandwagon of prepping as possible. The more people that are prepping, the less they're going to be looking around to eat us. You know what I mean?
Yes, I laugh, but I laugh like, yeah, I don't want to laugh.
Yeah, the more preppers they are, the less cannibals they are.
Well, and that's what I said in my last video, Greg. It was about hope and just thanking people. I was just like, why do we do this? Because I know that if I can teach just one person, right, that person is less of a threat to my children. Absolutely. That's why we do this. It's yes, we love you out there. We want what's best for you, but man, I'm thinking about my babies. And if you're fed and you're fat and sassy, you're not a threat to my kids.
There you go. There you go. Well, it may not be many of us that fat that long when it goes down, but if you can survive on your own, you're definitely less a threat. We all got to pull together. That's the key thing. See, North Alabama Hiking says water purification tablets are also something I keep. Yeah, I have those and different things for purifying water. So I talk about that in that video. I talk about those. I talk about using bleach to purify your water. I talk about the bottles. I talk about boiling it. I talk about making filters out of plastic bottles and charcoal and sand and leaves and gravel. I show you how to do that. I talk about the ceramic filters, the live straws. I cover all that in one video.
Right. Yeah, and Greg, in my Sustainable Stewards video, I did teach and talk about, at this point of the EMP, them vehicles that are all, sitting empty. A lot of, for the security part of it, you can use those vehicles, you can roll those vehicles to be barriers and things like that. But also they make great solar dehydrators. Fantastic solar dehydrator, and even as long as you got sun, even in the wintertime, they make good solar dehydrators. I've got a video how you can do that. I mean, the temperature, everybody knows the temperature of a car, how high it gets. And as long as you have the windows open, and you have some airflow, you can very safely, with ease, even make beef jerky in your vehicle on your dash.
There you go. Absolutely. And they're good for just heating too. You could, there's people that take cars and vented them into their homes, help heat their homes. Robert Steck says, Green Greg's worms help me make Terra Preta del Indio soil amendment, which has made 300% increase in people's harvest first year. Worm castings and worm tea are amazing for increasing harvest, guys. And that's why I said, really, if you pay attention to what I'm talking about in my video, you don't have to go to the store to buy fertilizers. There won't be no store to go to buy fertilizers and pesticides. So pay attention, guys. That's why that's why a lot of my garden videos, I spend a lot of time talking about bed prep. Everybody wants to see you planting plants right off the bat. No, I spend a lot of time, people get bored. But that's the thing you really need to know the most. The planting is what to do for the beds. That's the most important thing.
The soil and the microbiome is the life. It's the life. And the more and more people study the soil, they understand that there's a symbiotic relationship between the microbiome in the soil and the gut of us. And one of the problems that we have in our society today is because industrial agriculture has so raped the soil and just depleted it and destroyed it. We have dead food. Even the more organics that you go at Walmart, Aldi's, Sam, wherever you go, organic is not organic. It's still dead food. They still use industrial methods to plant and harvest that food. And they're still allowed to use a certain amount of chemicals to people. And that's what people don't understand. So when you start to become self-sufficient and sustainable, and like I have a whole, I at times have produced for 100 families completely no-till. And when you start to steward that soil, within 3 years, you literally, every year you can taste the difference in the food, and you can feel it in your body when you eat it. One of the problems like we have in America now is people keep eating and eating and eating. They eat a ton and they gain it. They're not feeding what's important because it's dead food. But planting mushrooms with your crops, another symbiotic relationship that helps that microbiome in the soil. This is all stuff that you can learn about on your own and go deeper into with it, folks. But I do believe, Greg, and I've said this from the beginning, I believe that if this does happen, I know people dread it and there will be death. But I believe that the blessings out of this is going to bring the family back together. You either get back together as a family or you're going to die. It's going to bring community back together. You either come as a community or you're going to die. And it's going to bring health back to a society that is been lazy and fat far too long, and I believe that there can be many, many blessings that come out of this situation. The Bible says all things work together for the good of them who believe. Even the most evil of acts can work together for them who believe, to come out the other side and be blessed in it. And that's what I try to sow into my subscriptions and the people that view and listen to me is keep your hope, keep your joy. And yes, it'll be difficult. Prepare your heart and mind, but understand at the end of this, Greg, we may have that society that we all crave to have right now. You know what I mean? We may have that community that we all crave to have. We all know there's been something missing, Greg. We all know it,
Let me tell you, that's the kind of community I grew up in. When the communities I grew up in, the neighbors were family. Everybody worked together. And if you got a neighbor come over to help you and you'd try to pay you the money, they get mad at you. And if you work for them, they'd try to throw more money at you than it's possibly worth. So that was just the way it was when I was growing up, and people really pulled together and neighbors were close. These days, you don't even know who your neighbor is. That's neighbors were close and family was usually closer, although sometimes family wasn't. But, depending on who it was. But usually families and neighbors were all really close and pulled together. And, there was a day and a time when you had grandma and grandpa and some of your aunts and uncles and kids all in one house, parents. Yep. Kids would get mad at their parents, as they always do, because parents have the job of discipline and raising them right. But they would always have that real fond spot for some aunt or uncle, or especially a grandparent. So the kids, if they wouldn't go out and do anything too stupid, because they would think, oh, what would grandma think? What would Uncle Joe think? Or what would Aunt Fanny think? They would go nuts if I did something crazy. And they wouldn't do it. I mean, nobody was going into school and going bang bang all over the school back in those days. Not to mention the fact we actually carried bang bangs. We carried our nugs to school in those days. Yeah, and it was no problem. Nobody would think about doing anything. Of course, if they did, those of us that had them would probably take care of business in short order. but nobody thought of that kind of stuff. It just didn't. And if you got in a fight with somebody, you know, it was fist. You wasn't gonna be pulling out some nug on someone. You know, it was all knuckles, not nugs. Knuckles, not nugs. That needs to be a T-shirt. Knuckles, not nugs. So there's a lot of things to bear in mind like that. Somebody talking about subbing there. I guess that's a decent comment. I don't know why some things get hidden here. Urine can tan your hides. That's true, Robert. Urine can be a hide tanner. It's also a fertilizer. You know, it's the basis of what forms nitrogen, the nitrates, a part of the nitrogen cycle, guys. Kerosene for lamps and long as it lasts, Mitchell, as long as it lasts, but eventually you're gonna have a hard time finding these things.
I suggest you don't waste your pee in your garden and you save it for predation deterrent. And I'm very honest about it, especially if you're out in the country. Because guys, within 3 months, the deer, the turkey, and the squirrels will be gone. Once that's gone, if you live where there's mountain lions, where there's wolves, where there's coyotes, trust me, you're going to need everything at your disposal to keep those predators at bay. And pee is a good one. You know, you mark your territory. When you're out
people are going to wipe out all the game animals like in just a matter of a few weeks.
Like that.
There won't be nothing out smaller or larger than a rat.
I keep telling people here in Wisconsin, when the Great Depression hit, Wisconsin's a huge deer state. But when the Depression hit, they killed, obviously for survival, so many deer that it took to the early to mid 90s to bring back the deer population in Wisconsin.
Same way where I grew up, there were no deer. And when I was growing up on the farm, there were no deer in miles. They'd introduced them into Gunnersville State Park. South Alabama had deer, but up where I was at, there was none. They hadn't made it back up there yet.
Right.
There are deer there now, but we're talking, it took decades and decades for the deer populations to recover. There's deer all around here. There's turkey all around here where I'm at. The turkey got introduced, of course. There's a lot of that stuff, but it's only going to last a matter of a very few short weeks. So those people who think they're going to survive by having large caliber nugs are going to find themselves starving in short order.
And Greg, that's why I didn't even talk in the first 24, 48 hours. I never talked about going out and hunting, because if you're relying on hunting for your survival, you're dead. You're a dead man walking. It's just, you cannot sustain that. Now we have, right here, we live right next to close to 70,000 acres of wildlife refuge. There are so many beavers in there. The only thing that's the only thing that I could perceive that would go a little longer is because beavers are a little harder to, they're a little harder to hunt and trap, because they're under the ice and things like that. But yeah, no, it's within 3 months. That whole system, it's done. That ecosystem is gone, and now we have a predation problem, right? If you have livestock, if you have chickens, if you have rabbits, they're fair game. And if you're not doing everything possible to secure them, protect them, they're going to be, at heavy risk. And that's why I say, like, men, when you're out walking the property lines and doing your security, just pee, just like a dog. Keep lifting your leg, Greg, because it is a big deterrent. It absolutely is. And I have big dogs. I have Great Pyrenees, and I raise them, I breed them, and I am prepared that if this happens, I will be keeping, instead of selling, of course, 3 to 4 more. And of course, I have to have the provision and be producing enough food to feed them. But again, this is part of my security. Now, those dogs could be shot at any time, but they can hear, smell, and sense things far before we can. Not last year, but the year before that, we have a little grandma that lived next to us for many years. She's in a home now, but she is 98 years old, and it was about 3 o'clock in the morning, and her house is about 350, 400 yards away from us. And my dogs were just going crazy. And I couldn't figure out, I'm out there with the light looking for coyotes, wolves. I couldn't see nothing. And all of a sudden I just sat and I could hear kind of from far, and I could hear screaming. My dogs were warning because there was a nutcase at this little old grandma, mentally ill guy, trying to break in her home. And we called 911, and of course I shined the light over there, scared him away. But dogs are very important, very, very important. Even a little dog, even a little foo-foo dog in the house is a warning system that could give you a leg up in this situation. So don't just go to eating the animals right away, folks. Do what you can to keep them, because it is a good security protocol to keep in place.
Well, just think about a live animal. It's kind of like meat in the refrigerator.
Right.
You know, that's one way to think. If you kill it now, what are you going to do? Well, you got all that other meat you're trying to process. No, keep it going as long as you can, and hopefully you can breed them and get more if you play it right. So let's see. New age nukes do not create radiation necessarily. Look, the neutron bomb is a radiation bomb. It don't destroy property. It puts out radiation. So, yeah, most of them, radiation is what you're going to get out of these things, guys. You're going to get radiation in various amounts, depending on what kind of device it is. And most of them are really nasty. And what you really got to worry about is dirty bombs. You know, people may just take regular explosives and take medical grade radioactive waste and make a dirty bomb to set it off in the city if it's a terrorist event. But what bugs me again is what you brought up, that DHS making those allegations. That suggests that somebody might try to take down the grid and blame it on us.
It suggests a false flag, is what it suggests.
Now, let's just say a banner not so true. You know what? Let's watch our language.
Okay.
Yeah. A lot of language is very suggestive to the robots, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you know,
guys, we got 285 people in the room and only 216 thumbs up. So help me out, guys. Let's get the thumbs up count way up, because I know that a lot of people gave me thumbs up are already out of the room. So I expect we could probably get another 100 thumbs up if people would jump in here. We really need that for the algorithms. Or Al Gore has no rhythm. It really helps these videos. It helps the channel. So help me, guys. Hey, you know, I'm trying to bring you some good stuff here. We're trying to bring you practical stuff to help you survive. So if you don't mind showing your appreciation, I would really appreciate it. And those super chats help a lot too. I thank y'all for that, Brian and Carl. Thank you so much for helping out in that regard. Carl says, I had Great Pyrenees, but had to put him to sleep. Oh, that's because he was nuts. I'm sorry to hear that. Well, that's one of the things happening to inbreed a lot of stuff. Neutron B is a weapon mentioned in the Bible. Oh, Dr. G, man, that sounds scary. But the neutron is a form of radiation too, but it's not ionizing. So that's the good thing about a neutron. It's not ionized. It's like little bullets. It will get you when it hits you directly. Air guns are worth their weight in gold. Yeah, that's true. But you know, you want stuff to go after the small game, really. I mean, just a pellet gun or a pellet nug, or one with a KAL of 0.22 or point, you know, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. You know, Greg, on our last video that we did on your channel, there was a sweet lady in there that said that she had arthritis and she had a lot of weakness in her hand. And she said, you know, what she asked me in your comments, you know, what I suggested. And what I suggest to women that have small hands, weak hands, arthritic hands, I have never met anybody with any hand problems that couldn't manage a 22. All right. It's a small, and she said, well, I heard that they won't do anything. Well, listen, it's better than nothing. Put some hollow points in it. It's better than nothing. The alternative is you have nothing in your hand, right? So if you're a small woman, not strong, you have hand problems, whatever, 22, or you know, even a 308 is, you know, you have to try it out, but a 308 is pretty small. But anything that gives you a fighting chance, you know, and 22s, it's the most readily available ammo there is. There was a couple years ago, there was a little issue with that. And of course, again, but when ammo always comes back online, it's always the first to come back online after shortages.
They're lightweight. It makes it easier to carry a lot of them.
Yeah.
In terms of a if I only had a choice of one bang bang, one nug to carry, it would be a 22.
Yep.
At least with a riffle, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
You know,
I like the Henry 22 long rifles. That's as far as I'm concerned. You can hunt, you could snipe with it, and here's the thing: it's small caliber. You can't really hear it from any amount of distance, and you can shoot a long distance with that 22. People are so far mistaken. It has you can shoot a long distance with it. May not have the oomph at the end, when at the hit.
Let's be careful. We don't make this about nugs, or we'll get.
Yeah, I know.
And we got to use code language a little more. We're getting a little bit off into the non-coded territory here. So let's make sure we don't break the robots, the snoopers.
Yeah, we're talking about 22 goats. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah, you got to get some bunch of goats, guys. So yeah, there's other stuff to use too. So I wonder if I got that on me here. I got something I could show you if I got it close by. Where did I put them? I used to keep them right here by my desk. And there's something that I like that I've used. That I've done a video on. There's something. That's what I wanted to show y'all. I might run upstairs for a second. You might just need to keep talking here while I go get something else to show. Ah, there it is. Well, I found it. So check this out, everyone. Check this thing out right here. This video I got right here. This is a blow. You blow this, guys. Put it in the tube and it blows. Don't you see that point right there? That is, I've seen video of guys taking out wild boar, deer. I think they even went after bear with these things. Yeah, it's it don't hit with the velocity of 22 goats, but this thing is very formidable. You can sink this deep into something with a blow nug. Blow nugs can be cool. I did a video on these things, guys. This is serious, and I got a nice little blow nug for this. And guess what's beauty about this? Makes no sound. Every time you pull a little horse named Trigger, you make a real loud shout, and you say, "Here I am, here I am," and I might have something worth taking, whether it's what I made a racket with, or what I took down with it, or just me, myself, and whatever else I'd be carrying along with me, including the heavy metal propellers, if you know what I mean. So, but this thing makes no sound. It's a beauty. Now, there are smaller caliber blow nugs, but and those might be good for taking out little birds and stuff like that. They would. You could take out some small stuff with the smaller ones, but this one right here, I wouldn't want one of these coming at me. I'm gonna tell you that in a heartbeat. Because I put these into pretty dense targets to the point that the back pops off. So you can drive these deep into something, and
you could take down a deer with that very easily, as long as you hit it in the right spot. You may have to track it. You're gonna have to let it lay and die.
The same goes for a 22 goat system.
Yeah.
And one of the guys in there said he took down a 322-pound deer with 22 goats. Feeble farmer, 22 goats is my choice. Well, he's in the city. Well, and that's also better if you got to go after the small stuff. Now, this is something that goes with, this is 50 goats, but it's with a smoke pole. You have to ram this down the end it comes out of, and you got to grease it. If you know what I'm talking about. I cast that one myself, guys. This is one I cast probably when I was a teenager. I've been carrying this thing around me for over 40 years. I've not cast this a long time, but I used to cast a lot of them on a camp stove. So that's a 50 goat heavy metal thing that needs to be propelled, if you know what I mean.
Right.
So this is a mineral supplement. Heavy metal supplement.
we talked about in the first video about, gray man and this and that. And I had said in the first video that I believe you have to have a great presence around your property, as a deterrent, but also among those community members, you also want to blend in. You don't want to show all your cards, if you know what I mean. So many people talking about, and I'm not saying don't get these, I'm saying go ahead and get these. Apple red starts with an A and R. You know what I'm talking about? Apples and red apples. You know what I'm talking about? Everybody talks about going out and buying these, and they're fantastic. I like them. But within your community, blend in with your community. You need to take them out and use them in a big way at that moment, then do it. But blend in amongst your community. Don't look like you have too much and that you're too
always blend in. Oh, I want to thank Wiesel.
Yeah.
A super chat of $20. Thank you, Wiesel. I really appreciate that. That really helps, guys. That really helps with these live sessions, guys. Especially because live sessions, all the people that view it before the commercials come on don't get any monetization. So that really helps a lot for going live is when we get the super chats. I mean, that's what makes going live worthwhile. So I appreciate that. Brian Carl and Wiesel. Now, Wiesel is a local, she's our Arkansas tribe leader. And she lives back and forth between Arkansas and Florida. She was just telling me about touring the launch center down there at the Cape. And I think she's going to volunteer to help out with our tribe list, guys. We're going to try to get, I've had a couple of volunteers for working our tribes list. Guys, I'm oversubscribed. I need help to get some things done. And she's going to help out with that. So, and the last person, one of the people I got to do it, kind of left our group. She got in a relationship and kind of evaporated on us. And the last one that is also oversubscribed. She's also our secretary of our Freedom Restoration Foundation, which y'all need to check out. If you're still in the room, Cowboy or Rogers, you can share the Freedom Restoration Foundation link again. My neighborhood Chihuahua is a vicious little demon.
I have never met a Chihuahua that I liked. Oh, they are mean little dogs.
Oh, I know. My grandma's Chihuahua bit me several times. So I thought it made I really thought it might make a neat little football, but I knew it would cease to exist, and my grandma would be less than totally thrilled about that.
Yeah. Wow.
When I was a kid, I accidentally killed a dog by kicking it. So.
Oh no.
Yeah, and I felt so bad afterwards. I mean, oh my gosh, I felt awful. I felt so guilty, and it just made me sick. And I hated I even did it in the first place, but I was a little kid and I was just mad. And that dog come up to me, it was trying to be happy, and I was so mad I didn't want to be happy, So I was just a dumb little kid. I felt so bad about that. So Greg, thanks for everything you teach us. Michael Sherman, Gardener and Woodworking and More, $4.99. Well, thank you, Michael Sherman, Woodworking and More. Appreciate that. So we're trying to teach you. We're trying to help people. We're trying to look, guys. We may be at the precipice of it here, guys. I mean, there's so many warning signs with all this notion of potential war with Russia, with China. There's North Korea. There is Iran. All four of these countries have it written in their doctrine that if they get into it with us, they're going to take down our power grid.
Yeah.
Different means. And the Iranian, the head of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard was told by somebody, says, hey, look, if you just take down 9 critical substations in America, there's just 9 of them. If you get the right ones, you take down the entire grid. And his response was, oh, I've already got 20 targeted by sleeper cells. So, there's such thing as kinetic attack, like yet it's according to the DHS, they don't have to worry about those guys. It's the white supremacists. Now, I hope there isn't white supremacists out there to do that kind of thing. But, the problem is how they define that. They usually define that by anybody who is conservative or not in their count, basically, especially preppers, even black preppers that would probably count in that count. So, and guys, that I always talk against racism on this channel. I always talk against that. I have a mixed race family, And I have no room for that. I tell everybody all the time, there's good and bad people from every country, every race, color, creed, and religion, and every city, town, hamlet, shire, or neck of the woods for that matter. You're going to find good and bad people everywhere, but you're going to find good people everywhere, people to give you the shirt off your back. So, and we're all the same on the inside. A lot of times we get stirred up in our countries, and organizations will delude people. And we got a lot of that going on here too. You know, it's like my video I did about Putin, my last one. I wasn't directly. I'm gonna do one on Putin directly, hopefully one day.
Greg, did you hear Biden just a week and a half ago what he said? 2 weeks. He came on a speech and said America's greatest threat is domestic terrorism. Yeah. And here's in anybody who studies history, even modern history. Yep. It's the propaganda. That was the propaganda that we heard just before 9/11. So we heard that our greatest threat was the Middle East, right? Our greatest threat, and after 9/11, and the greatest threat, it was what kept a Middle Eastern war going for over 20 years, was that the greatest threat are these, Middle Eastern terrorists. Now it's domestic terrorists. Folks, you better take note of that, because they declared wars on entire nations over that kind of propaganda. And now they're saying that it's domestic. So take note of that.
Yeah, that's what bothers me. There's so many people out there who want to take out our grid, and for them to come out and say that suggests to me that they really want to go after people. And a lot of people suspected that for some time. So just be very aware, people. But we also need to make it darn plain that we're not racist. I'm not. Right. And look, I'm blonde hair, blue eyed, but I'm not of that caliber. I don't come from that territory. So,
well, they were calling parents that were trying to hold school boards accountable domestic terror. They sent the FBI after them. So, the whole narrative has changed towards the American people being the greatest threat. And I feel, Greg, at a root level, this has not been for the last 20 years a government by and for the people. This is a federal USA Inc. That's what this is now. And don't get in the way of the corporation. There's going to be a time when a lot of us YouTubers are going to be going dark, and we're going to have to get humble and focus on what we need to do, because eventually all this will be gone. The free speech, what little free speech we have left, right? Most everything is censorship, and it'll be all gone. So
the fact that we have to watch what we say so much on here already.
Yeah, it's sad.
To really monitor ourselves. We're not on a free speech platform. I tell people that. People come here and ask me, Greg, why don't you talk? But they're getting mad at me for not saying certain things. It's like, okay, if I say that, I will never say anything else on this channel again. My channel will go. Right. And what good can I do for you if I destroy my channel? I mean, how many videos have I put out here with good information after? I don't use profanity. There's some people here throwing out some profanities. I mean, their points might be good otherwise, but we are a family channel, so don't put profanity in your comments, please. Even light profanity, let's watch it. I really don't want that in the chat group. I don't want that in the channel. We're a family channel. Let's keep it clean. Hey, yeah. Robert Steck just gave a $5 super chat. Thank you, sir. Robert, thank you. That really helps. It really does. So, nice. That's what makes these live sessions worthwhile. I record a lot of videos a lot of times because, one, I can get them out quicker. And two, a recorded video at least says I get the ad revenue, which I don't get when we're live like this. So when people throw in the super chats, it makes it a lot easier to do these live. So I did a lot of super chats. I don't get a lot of live sessions. I don't get any super chats for it. And I really go, So, sometimes it discourages me from doing those. Let's see. King Snurgelson says the Viking people that lived through the Serbia, Croatia horrors didn't find too many good people coming along. Well, that's a lot better way to put it. So there's something else to bring up. There was a little book written about the Bosnian situation, that situation of where the conflict, and boils down to warfare to survive. Unfortunately, once it gets
Sadly.
bad, once it gets that gritty, every person from themselves, pretty much, because people are trying to feed, they're starving, they're desperate, and they're desperate to feed their kids. Once it gets down to that point, a lot of civility gets lost. And all right, Travis Lowe, thank you, sir, for that $1.99 super chat. That's cool. That's awesome. Thank you, sir. Now, what they say in those situations is that what you want in your group are fighters, people that can know how to use a nut, people that can form those squads I was talking about. Oh yeah, by the way, a squad has 2 teams in it typically, and if you got a sniper, you have to deal with snipers in these kind of situations. You want to send 2 teams out to take that sniper because they can flank and come at them. If you know how to maneuver militarily, then you know how to do this. Now, us veterans know that, and it might be something we're talking about later. Hey, Brian, thank you so much for another super check. Good as you go. Thank you, sir. That's the second one from Brian tonight. Brian's been very generous to me. He's also sent me a lot of little goodies in the mail. Bunch of honey. He thinks I need to be sweeter. Well, that's my sweet him. The honey's real nice. So, then other things, other little goodies. King Snurgles and the Viking says, when things get truly desperate, there are very few nice people going to help you. Well, they're trying to survive at that point. They're just trying to survive. Now, what I was going to say about this little book written by the survivor of the Bosnian situation, and he said that at this point, the thing that counts most is basically stuff like that. Except they usually come with a little copper written or a copper jacket wrapped around them and some powder pre-positioned behind them.
Yeah.
Make them a propeller of this stuff. When I say heavy metal propellers, that's what I'm talking about, guys. It's the whole enchilada with a primer and a jacket and all that good copper jacket and what you probably call it, case and all that good happy stuff. So that's you're gonna need a lot of that stuff. The more the better. I mean, that's what they say. That's the most valuable thing in a situation like this, to have a lot of that. And people that know how to do it, have a team of people that got your back.
Yeah, and that's why you got to have people with different talents and different life skills: mechanics, engineering, nursing, doctors,
right?
Ex-military, military, and most importantly, multiple ages, from young to old. Because do not assume. I'll tell you what. The most valuable man that will be entering my group is my 86-year-old grandfather. Most valuable by far. You cannot exchange the wisdom of an elder for even the muscle of a young man. Because I'll tell you what, something my grandpa always says all the time. He says, yeah, the young guy might be able to run faster and maybe beat me up. He says, but I'm smart enough not to even let him get to that point to do it. The old guys did, the old folks don't get to that age because they're stupid people.
You gotta be cunning. When you get old, you gotta be cunning.
Yeah, and they've been through it.
So you better be cunning.
That's right. And the old folks have been through it. They know how to fix stuff. They're industrious. They got common sense. There isn't a lick of common sense left in most people anymore. Just problem solving skills. One of the things that I do as a homeschooling mom, I don't coddle my daughter. She gets shown once how to do the issues that we're doing. She has to read the directions. She'll come to me and she's really stuck. I'll help her out, but she's got to figure it out, because nobody knows how to figure out anything on their own anymore. And that's one of the things I instill in my kids is you have to be a problem solver. And we're severely lacking that in our society today.
Yeah. Now somebody was talking about comms. We should give a little discussion of comms. Comms is going to be very important, especially early on, while when people are kind of scattered around. There are those little handheld units, kind of like this thing, but these are only good for like line of sight, short distances. These are not good for long distance. If you got people out in the vicinity, they got some value to them, but but people really don't know how to use them. They're dangerous in the wrong hands. If you're out on maneuvers and you're talking, you're a target. You need to keep your dang mouth shut if you're on maneuvers. Don't talk through one of these. If you're out on a maneuver and you got this thing turned on and somebody pings you, you might have somebody else pinging you. Something you
Yeah,
just
that beep that goes off.
yeah,
I'll
or
tell you
your
what.
cell phone go off, then
Yeah.
just like, here I am, blow your camouflage. There you are, bang bang. Comms are dangerous. Everybody thinks they're a tool. They're dangerous. You better know how to use them and have the right protocols established for comms amongst your group. That's the first thing to know. And hey, we got a great super chat here from Julie Fall, $20 Australian. Thank you, love from Australia. Well, thank you, Julie. Appreciate that. Thank
Wow.
you. So you got to know, yeah. I'm gonna show that. Kathlana says, "Then you shut up." Exactly. You know, I see all these shows of military people out on maneuvers and all running their yaps. Well, that may be good for Hollywood and for movies, but that ain't what you do in real life. And it's just like all these shows were out chasing Bigfoot and they're all running through the woods and blah 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 blah. They ain't never going. If there was 100 Bigfoot around, they never would see a one because they ain't gonna have nothing to do with that. So you know, have you ever seen those guys find anything or capture anything? If they were in a whole herd of them, they wouldn't see them. So that's just goofy. You know, it's TV, it's productions.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know you didn't mean me, Kathleen. I assume you're talking about what I was talking about, that if you're on maneuvers, you don't run your trap, you keep quiet. You have hand signals. That's what the military trains use, like a symbol, go forward, left, right, disperse, you know. People know if you're in a squad and you're marching, you get a signal like that, you disperse into the duck, get cover, or, you know, a symbol, come here, let's chat a little bit. But also, when you're, look, maneuvers may be an important thing to know. Because if you bug out, you might find yourself living in the woods. You may not have a place to bug out to. You may be on maneuvers for a long time, just kind of going through and surviving as you go. Well,
Right.
you may be a target. So what you need to know is everybody needs to be a good distance apart, like maybe 6 meters, 5 meters apart. That way, a grenade type device won't take everybody out. It might get one, but it won't get everybody. Somebody starts banging it at you, they're going to have a hard time picking you all off, and others can return bangs, if you know what I mean. If you're ever ambushed, you're basically like, if you sit there and try to stand your ground, you're like fish in a bucket. Charge. The best defense is charge, if you can. Now they might be behind a good wall or something, but so you might have to find some cover. Well, me, says Kathleen. I mean, what? Oh, somebody's having a. Are we having a spat here in the room between a couple of people?
Uh-oh.
Somebody said,
Drama going on.
I don't know what's going on here. All right, guys, be nice to each other. Come on, guys, be nice. Your radios won't work in EMP. Pond Girl, that's true if you haven't put it in. Well, a lot of them can be fried. Not necessarily all be fried, but a lot of them you would expect to be fried unless you put them in Faraday cages. So the first word of comms is use Faraday cages. Now, what comms are really good for, if you have CB radios will be interesting. Ham radios are best because ham people have networks, and you might find out what's going on in the world, and they might tell you that you got an invasion force coming your way. That would be very valuable to know.
Yeah, I'm trying to talk my husband into going and getting his license. I've got, you know, I've done the midwifery education. I'm doing the medical part of it. I'm doing my part. I don't want to take on another thing, and be honestly, electronics and things like that is not my wheelhouse. It's not my thing. So I'm talking to him about, because he's very smart that way with, you know, techie stuff. So I'm trying to get him to go get that. Even if we never talk on it, it's one of those things where we can keep an eye on what's going, you know, elsewhere.
If you wrap one of these in aluminum foil, somebody mentioned wrap aluminum foil, and you put it in a metal box, make sure there's an insulator between the box and what you're putting in there. Now, you might put boxes in boxes like metal, a garbage can. Like you might have a little metal cookie can. You put stuff in and put it in a garbage can. You can also get aluminum tape to seal these things with, which helps reduce a lot of the noise that could cause an EMP to get through and fry your stuff out. But if you're touching the metal, then you can, the currents that are in the metal can get into your device. So you don't want to be touching it unless you're touching it with a non-conductive surface. Now, actually, this thing's encapsulated in plastic, so it's pretty much a non-conductive surface. But people I saw earlier in the chat mentioned Mylar bags. Those are good for, especially for electrostatic charge dissipation. Cassandra D. Glegg, I'm glad I was raised by my grandparents. Oh, I thought I saw that earlier. I didn't hit the down button on here. Yeah, so that's a good thing. But the key thing is to have my damn button's not working. The key thing with comms is keep your stuff, keep systems in Faraday cages to start with. The CB radios and your can let you know a lot about what's going on, especially on the road. The ham radios are going to give you better knowledge what's going on further out. So you can get the ham. But even these things have frequencies on that you're not permitted to use generally. But there's no FCC, nobody's going to be coming after you. I don't
right.
So at that point, you might just use all the frequencies. But just remember, these are good at short range. And if you use these things, you better have a good protocol. You don't want to just be keying somebody willy-nilly. You might cost them their lives. And so these things can be dangerous. They could be lifesavers. They could be good for communication, especially if you got to communicate with somebody you can't get to, you can't see. But be very, very discreet, very quiet. And remember also, somebody else might be on the same channel listening. So you might want to have some code talk to use so that some people won't know exactly what you're talking about. Like, what you might talk about a red bird. Well, that red bird can be anything you want it to be other than a red bird, if you know what I mean.
Right. So
you better have a lot of things, like anything connected to any maneuver you might make. You want to have a code talk for that. You want to have code talk for your own people, your assets that you carry, and things like that. So you better come up with your own language, guys, or they're gonna figure you out real fast. The antenna is positive, the sheath and negative, don't mix them. There you go.
And we have contingency too. My husband's going the farthest. Signals on signs.
No microwave is a Faraday cage, Mitchell Jones. That's true.
If the spouse doesn't get home, you have to know which roads they took, and you have to be able to see how far they got and whatnot. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's good to know what people in your family, how they typically travel, in case you have to go looking for them. Yeah,
is it like I said early on in this, we're just preparing to go to the dark ages, and that's that. The ham thing, that is all great and fine, but when this happens, if the grid is down and there's it's not something we're concerned about, I think it'd be, for now, leading up to stuff, it'd be just as important as during. But Greg, I'm going to have to call it a night here because I got to get up in the morning, and I just looked at the temperature. We're at -25, so I got to get downstairs in the basement, and I got to
I got to go outside to my greenhouse, fire up my bullet heater out there. Let me look here, see what temperature it is, because I'm gonna have to get out there in just any minute. It's probably about 28 degrees by now. That's what was forecast for this time. I'm hitting my little weather app here. It's not always exactly dead on, and then it's not updating. It's being slow because I'm using it also to drive my laptop here. But I understand. It's only 30, so that's not so bad yet. I got a little margin for a few minutes here.
Yeah.
But I got to get up in my greenhouse. I got to go back out in my microgreens trailer. But guys, what this boils down to, let's just kind of wrap it up. Know that you've got to get your food preps in order. You can, if you're under a radiological event, you can use your time to hunker down and practice things, read up on stuff before you go back out in the world. But take the food in your freezer and process it to last longer. Have good protocol about that. Hey, all your electronics are eventually going to, anything that's relying on technology, if you're at a point where everything's really burnt out, you're not getting it back. Sometimes it's all going to wear out. King of Circles says, I undertook Royal Marines training and passed just the survival element of the training setup for my life, or anything coming our way to get young family members to read at least one good survival book. There you go. Everybody reads a survival book. That's a good point. Troy McDonald says, number one prep and supply is faith in the good Lord.
Amen.
Yeah, you're not going to get a lot of argument here with that. So, Greg, take us to the microgreen trailer. Well, I'm on my computer right here, so that's gonna be a little hard to do from the computer. I'll do another live show tomorrow night, guys. Oh, tomorrow I'm going to be interviewing General Ken Chrosniak again.
Ooh.
He's a friend of mine, and he was in Bosnia when all this stuff was happening. He was there. He said they wasn't any critters out. The forests were silent. So I'm going to be interviewing him to talk about what's going on in the world. I may have some interesting guests coming here in the not too distant future. So just kind of keep your eyes tuned to my channel, guys. Subscribe and bang the notification bell if you've not already done so, because there's no telling what we're going to have in here, guys. We're going to have some interesting guests over the next couple of weeks, I hope. But General Ken Chrosniak he started out as an enlisted guy. So he knows what it's like to work for a living, but he made his way all the way up to brigadier general, and he's a firefighter. And he's been very much involved in our work to get the grid safe, our power grid. I consider him a hero. Guys like him, he's got a few years on him, but he's still out there doing stuff, guys. He is still out there active, trying to make a big difference in the world. So I have a lot of admiration for folks like Ken Chrosniak, and I'm glad to be able to call people like that a friend. So who else? What other channel brings you people like I do? I mean, hey, Stacy here, so practical, so real, so down to earth, who had that wild vision of an EMP attack from Venezuela. Holy smoke. She didn't even know what an EMP was. Goat nugs. Those damaged orange. There you go. And, so, and when I bring you I've had Ambassador Hank Cooper on here, Pentagon level guy who ran this SDO channel. I know channels 10 times my size, and they talk about, I got my contacts in Pentagon, and they say blah, 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 and nothing they ever say comes true. Nothing. Nothing. So they're, what kind of contacts do they really have? I really got to wonder about some of them. And some of those are very big, popular channels too, by the way. But I've called one of them out.
I'm waiting for all the asteroids. I'm waiting for all the asteroids.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I'm talking about. Yeah, he said a couple of years ago, come October, no one will be able to deny it. I came out in August and says, oh yeah, it ain't happening. It ain't going to happen. I can deny it right now. What happened? Nothing. I let him out. So, yeah, don't pull that on me, guys. Asteroids are a threat in the long term, but we don't know of any immediately. So, with all the astronomers out there, that stuff just didn't want to go down like that. Trust me, if you don't believe that, check out my videos on those kind of topics. The hardest thing for people to overcome is their own mind. Yeah, that's true. That's true, Heather Gill, very much. Arnold Schmidt, man, am I ever late? Yeah, we started this earlier than I usually do, Arnold. But please go back and watch all this. Please check it all out, guys. We got a lot of good stuff. Bring on the asteroid, says Kathleen. There you go. Go back and check this stuff out, and go back through this video. It's got a lot of good information in it. Check out our first 24-hour video from a couple days ago. Check that out, guys. And go to Stacy's channel by all means. She's got 2 channels: Sustainable Stewards and Battle Axe. And she's amazing. I always enjoy having Stacy on the channel here on the show, because she's good people. She's down to earth. She's solid. She's tough. She's tough as nails. And I like a tough woman.
Great. You gotta find you a woman. What's going? You gotta find me a tough woman.
Yeah, well, maybe one day. Maybe one day. Yeah, maybe one day. But my life's no cakewalk, man. And it's just not for everybody. I see one in the chat room who might be interested in that. but my life is no cakewalk. It's not easy. So I'm not promising a rose garden here in my neck of the woods. I work. That's the key thing here, guys. So hey, thanks for that. And
thanks so much for having me on tonight. I really appreciate it. I love our conversations. So
it's always a pleasure. It's always a pleasure having you on, because you are such a source of information. That's why everybody go to Stacy's channels and subscribe. We'll put links up when I go in and put the show notes on this video. I'll do that later. I'll put show notes on. It's going to take a little bit, but Kathleen says, "And you're cute." There you go. So, guys, do subscribe to her channel. She is good. She's got good information. She don't have near enough subscribers. Y'all need to go in. They got 152 people in the room right now. I expect her to get 152 more subscribers right now. Everybody go right now and subscribe to Stacy's channels. Do it. All right. Yeah. New Days Always. Just put the link up there. There you go. Thank you. Thank you, Katie. She put the link up to Stacy's channels there. Go check it out. That's at least one of them. I don't know which one that is. She's got 2 channels. Go in by all means, guys. Check it out. Blow her channels up. She needs some help there. Terrific lady she is. I really appreciate her. She's also one of our board members in the Freedom Restoration Foundation. So she does a whole lot of stuff to try to help us have a better future, guys. King Snurkson tell me I needed a fat woman.
Well, you know what I say,
She'll last longer. He says
I always say never trust a skinny survivalist or homesteader. That's what I always say. They ain't doing it right.
Oh, we used to have a couple other phrases for that, like warm in the winter and shade in the summer.
Hey, you gotta have a little extra, because if this does happen, you're gonna lose a lot of it. So you got something to work with.
That's true. That's true. Well, I got my own here. I got my reserves. Some of my prepping's above my belt here. So, hey, look, there's good people, a lot of good people out there of all shapes and sizes. A lot of people out there I dearly love. We need unconditional love. Like the other day when I was out in the woods with my cat, and I said, look, guys, a cat's going to love you. Don't care what you look like, what color you are. And that's what we need to have in mind, guys. We need to love each other.
That's right.
And we got to forget all this look stuff and all that. And Kathleen says, belly laughing good. We got to get beyond that stuff, because it's going to get tough, guys. It's going to get tough.
That's right.
So get ready. So the last words are prep and pray. Prep and pray. And what I like to leave people with always is this. It's that, guys, trust, she says, is a big issue. Trust is a big issue. Trust is one of the biggest issues, guys. Trust really is. Prep and pray. Prep like there's no tomorrow. It may not be. We don't know what our last day before it hits the fan is going to be right now. We're in a slow mode. It hits the fan right now. Things are going bad. The pace of that has been accelerating. If we get into a WAR with the Russians or anybody else, Lord knows. If somebody takes our grid down for Lord knows what reason, we're in a pickle, guys. We don't know when. With the kind of stuff coming out of DHS, who knows what is up people's sleeves. We are, guys, it's time to take it very seriously. Do everything you can to prep. Run that big box store and get the beans and dried rice. Go out in the wood, pay attention to those videos I put out there. Watch them right now on eating free from the weeds and the trees, and commit that stuff to memory. Get you some books. YouTube ain't gonna be here forever. And if this happens, and check out now why you can get it. Go to prepwithgreg.com and check out that $150 off special. Check out that $50 off for 4-week supply special, and get seeds. You know, Trillium market for that. Get seeds, guys. Heirloom seeds, open air pollinated, heirloom seeds. Get everything you can to get ready. But buy paper plates, buy spoons, forks. Just think about what you would need. Just what do you use in your day-to-day life? Think about that stuff.
Give up that $3,000 to $5,000 vacation. Don't even do it. Take that money and invest it in the lives of your family.
I ain't taking a $3,000 to $5,000 vacation, $1,000 vacation in my life.
I never have either, but Greg, I'll tell you what, we know so many people that do, and they waste that money. They just waste it for 5 days of, seeing Mickey Mouse. Take that money and invest it in your family.
What does the people want to go see Mickey Mouse for? They want to go see the international community there. We go to the countries.
Right.
I want to see some fake international community, and I don't know. I never really understood that, but then maybe that's my lack of understanding. I've never been into Mickey Mouse. Anyway, MICKEY Remember that singing that at the very end of Full Metal Jacket, the movie. So
That's right.
now that was appropriate. All right, guys. Stacy, thank you so much. Maud, you've been really busy tonight. I thank all y'all for everything you've done. I thank everybody for coming here, and super chatters. Wow, you really helped make this a great night for us tonight. So thank you, Mackie Mouse. Sure hope nothing hits. Yeah, I got that Epcot. Now Epcot's got. Hey, Top Mike, how you doing, bud? Epcot does have redeeming aspect, and at least they got hydroponics and stuff like that going on there. And it is built out of a Buckminster Fuller ball, you know, the geodesic dome. So from the science standpoint, you know, that's okay. Imagination, man. All right. If I went to Disneyland or Disney World, I don't remember which one's which, although I've been outside of one of them once, but I've never.
My 22-year-old about ready.
Ready to what? You lost sound. Lost you there. No sound, Stacy.
Greg, my daughter, she might be having her baby right now. She's calling me. I have to take this.
Goodbye.
God
Thank
bless
you,
you all.
Stacy. Thank you. Thank you for everything you've done. Good luck. Good luck. Prayers for Stacy and her daughter. Everybody. Prayers. Pray, 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 pray. Thank you, Stacy. Bye-bye. Go. All righty. Stacy, amazing, amazing. Her daughter might be having a baby. Wow, right now. Isn't that awesome? Pray for Stacy. Pray for her daughter. I got to get out to my greenhouse, guys. I thank everybody for being here. Wow, y'all are awesome. I thank all the super chats. That is just awesome. We had a good night tonight on that. That is exciting. Maybe we'll hear a report of a brand new baby. I can't wait to hear that one. You don't need a license if things go south. Well, that's true with the comms. That's true. That's true. Anyway, guys, we're going to go now. I really appreciate everybody for being here. Everything everyone's done, and just hang in there. But again, just remember this: and I've said this all many, many, many times, as light dispels darkness, love dispels hate. Why don't you shine your love light in the world? Make a positive difference as much as you can. Do that. And babies, hey, babies are the most precious thing in the universe. Babies are the most precious thing, the most beautiful thing, I think, is a baby. All the innocence, all the potential right there, a newborn baby. And they're just looking at the world in wonder. They've got so much wonder in their eyes as they grow up. Everything is so new to them. Babies are the most precious thing there is. We need to figure out a way to connect. Heather, okay, so you got a couple people there you want to connect with each other. Have a blessed night. Everyone says new days always. Thank you, Katie. Double up on a couple of potato chip bags. There you go. It's the Faraday cage. There you go. No muzzle on baby. There you go. Anyway, yeah, she's had to go. I'm glad she's gone and take care of that baby. So same name, redhead. What is that? All righty, everyone, I'm gonna go. Thank y'all for watching. Tomorrow, I'm gonna probably pre-record with General Ken Chrosniak and upload it, most likely, rather than go live. But I will be live on my normal Wednesday thing, good Lord willing, Wednesday night. So come back and watch, hopefully 2 videos Wednesday. And yeah, we may have some surprise for Thursday. So anyway, everyone, I really thank you all. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. In a world without Social Security, babies are indispensable. Babies are always indispensable. They are the greatest blessing I think that ever was. Anyway, everyone, thank you so much. Thank y'all, and Greg out.